Billboard Philippines. Volumes.
On this episode of Volumes, we talk life lessons with Ena Mori.
Billboard Philippines. Volumes.
Hello. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today. This is Billboard Philippines Volumes, where we turn up the story on artists. Yes, good job.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here today. I know you're with us during our maiden issue shoot as well. I've gotten to know you personally, but I've always been a fan of your music. I think the first time that I ever saw you perform was Miss G's in Poblacion. I watched
so long
yes,
ago.
I watched one of your like starting gigs, and I was like, this girl's going somewhere. And now we're here today.
Oh my gosh, that's a long time ago.
I
I'm so
know.
surprised that you were there. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, everybody, for inviting me. So exciting.
Let's just jump right into it. Let's
Yeah.
jump right into it. I mean, today is all about life lessons. And I know it kind of sounds like a serious topic, because it is. No, but for real.
It gets real.
Yes, it does. Right now, I just want to know, like, through your artist journey, what is something that you've picked up along the way that really has just like been the benchmark for you through this whole thing? Like, what keeps you grounded? What takes you further? What pushes you? What are you doing this for?
Well, I started being an independent artist, I think 3 or 4 years ago. And when I started, I didn't really know anything about, doing music other than playing them or writing them. And yeah, throughout, I had so many incidents where, you have a little battle between, what people would love to hear from you and what you actually want to make. And I think that's a battle for a lot of artists that goes through, especially when you're starting out, because you don't really know the sound of yourself, do you? Because I think for 2 years I was just trying my best to find my new sound. And then now that I have an album, I had a little bit of that. I guess I found my sound throughout the making of the album. But what I learned was just to write the songs that you like and just trust your guts, because I think if you're writing a song that a lot of people will like and you don't really like it, it's gonna show anyways. And like it will show in your craft, it will show in to the audience as well. And keeping yourself authentic is something that's very hard. It's so easy to say, but it's something that I had to learn throughout the making. Yeah.
Well, I think, as artists, like when you first start out, you kind of just look to the people you're a fan of. You know what I mean? You try,
Right.
They say imitation is the biggest form of being a
Yes.
flattery, right?
Yeah.
But then throughout it, you start to come to a point where, okay, this is what I want to do now, or this is the direction I'm going.
Yeah.
And you're taking little bits of all your influences,
Yeah.
and then it becomes you, and then you take it even further.
Yeah.
So, after hearing, about your first album and just going through the tracks and hearing that form of you, where do you see it going from there? Are you working on new music?
I am very low key. Low key,
Not
I'm
anymore.
I'm trying not to really think about, let's make a new thing. I'm just really, right now I'm in the process of inputting everything, because I wrote so many things and I kind of shed so many of my parts, I guess. And it's time for me to kind of take in inspiration. So I'm listening to a lot of music. And I think that's one thing that you're talking about, imitation, is that you don't want to be similar to an artist that you look forward to, but you are inspired by them. And for me to kind of, because it's hard for a lot of artists, I think, to have their own sound while, having this one type of inspiration like all the time. And I think it's very important for artists to not only listen to what the music that you like, but musicians that you respect. So a lot of genres and a lot of, you have to kind of be open-minded for different sounding music. And yeah, I think that's really important as well, to not only sound similar to your inspirations, but to kind of figure out your sound. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Listening to a lot of songs. Yeah.
Have there been moments when you were writing your songs when you went, oh, I can really hear where I'm coming from there, and then you decided to, it's too close to the influence. And during those moments, how do you turn it into your vision and your sound?
Yeah, I had so many encounters like that, and I think a lot of artists
We all do, yeah.
You know, we all do. You know, it's not, we're not musicians. We are really training to, you know, figure out our sound. It's like a pursuit of never-ending self. You know, and I think my trick is to kind of take the idea more than the actual sound itself, like where it came from, and from that idea, maybe I could tweak a little bit to what is surrounded by me, you know. And it's easy to say, but you know, that's what I would probably do in that situation.
Coming from classical music, 'cause I heard that you're classically trained. How did this
I'm a nerd.
how did this come from that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you start as a classical trained artist. You're putting 10,000 hours into that. And then you take on a new persona. Or has this always been the persona even when you were a classical artist? When did the change happen?
Well, I started classical when I was 6 years old, as a typical Asian kid would do, probably. You know, I started as a force. But, you know, my mom had the piano, and I picked up a piano because it was there. And from there, I was very serious about the whole classical thingy. And I did a lot of competitions. And throughout the competition, I met my mentor. Her name is Ayako Kaneko. She's my piano teacher. And she's the first one that actually recognized how, I guess, like liberal I am when it comes to playing piano. Even though I was training classical, I kind of like, when there's like a spot where I could kind of be free, I'll do that, even though they don't really like me doing that. But she's the first one that embraced that part of myself. And I think that I thank her so much when it comes to my growth, because that's when I realized, okay, maybe I can do my own thing. You know, maybe it's not a bad idea for me to kind of change up a little bit. And yeah, that's kind of like the start. So when I met her, yeah.
I actually love that. It's like even when you're doing classical music, you're already kind of going outside the box already. You're
Yes,
like,
they
okay.
really hated me for that. A lot of my conservatory people are like, "What are you doing? That's not on the books," you know. Yeah, so it was like a controversial thing. But now I look back, and my mentor told me, "Oh, that's really interesting of you. Like, you should do that." And
That's super important, having mentors actually, and
Yeah.
having people in your life that actually accept the things that you don't even know maybe at the time that make you special,
yeah,
right? There's, like you were saying, there were so many people maybe in the conservatory saying that's not the way it should be done,
right.
but you had the one person there that said to you, that is the thing that makes you special.
Yeah,
And you took that, you internalized it, and you manifested it into something bigger. And I'd like to just talk about how your album was made. I read that you made it during the pandemic, like kind of being inside and just sitting there, letting the inspiration come to you. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about the process, what was going on, what does the album mean, what's your favorite song? I know it's a lot of questions, but just go ahead. Feel free.
yeah. I made the album during the pandemic, so I quarantined in my hometown in Japan, and you know, during the quarantine, well, us artists, not just us, but like everybody, we really didn't know like when it's gonna be normal again. And I was just frankly bored because you know, I didn't have anything to do. And yeah, throughout the making, I guess I was just, every day I was just sitting by the piano, you know, sitting beside the notebook to really write it. And you know, some days inspiration doesn't really come in, and I think a lot of there's like a misconception when it comes to inspiration, that you know, it will just fall onto you and like just like, ah, here you go, inspiration. You know, it's not gonna happen like that. You have to always make sure that you take time and invest your time to sit down and really think it through. And that's one thing that I really learned about the process of making the album, because it was a lot of contemplation and just like thinking about what to do. And yeah, I made most of the songs were made in Japan, and I made kind of like the pre prod version of the song, the demo, and then me and my producer Tim, we kind of we use WeTransfer, which is very
Yes.
very convenient. I love WeTransfer. Sponsor me, but WeTransfer. We just like transfer each other's files, and it was like the first time we worked like this, because usually we sit down and like talk about, okay, what do we do, and yeah, it was a refreshing way to make a song, and it was very straightforward. A lot of Zoom calls as well, and yeah, it just happened that way. Yeah, that's pretty much.
Was the point of the album to really make a new sound or push Philippine pop forward, or was it just we're gonna make this just because?
Well, the title of the album is called "Don't Blame the Wild One," and I think I just wanted to make an album where it will represent me the best, because throughout I had an EP before. It was a self-titled EP. And during that time, I was still, kind of figuring out my sound. And some of the songs in it is like my college project. It's very like, starting up still. And yeah, I really took time to make sure that this will represent my sound, and this is what I want to give the message towards. And yeah, that was kind of like the point of building my sound.
You are with Offshore Music.
Yes.
How did that come about? And
Oh.
working, I guess, with Ellie as well.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I have Offshore to really support me when it comes to my music and releasing. Um, it came about. I think one of the Offshore members, I think Pat, or maybe it might have been Sorelli. He went to one of my gig, and that gig was terrible. I did such a terrible job, and I remember, oh my goodness, I can't believe, because I think I was still very nervous. I mean, I still get nervous, but I was very nervous, and it shows. When it shows, and I was really having a hard time. And that was the stage where the lights were so bright, and I can't see the audience, so I can't really tell what they really think. And I just remember I was very nervous about performing in front of them, and they really liked it. So I'm like, yay! Thanks. And yeah, I just really love working with them, because one thing I really focus on is that I want to have all the creative freedom to do what I want when it comes to music, and they really respect that, and that's really amazing about them. So yeah, that's how I met them.
What has been the most challenging thing that happened to you, and the most important lesson that you learned from that challenge?
I think the most, challenging thing for any artist is to kind of keep the authenticity of your sound and your message, and it takes a lot of work and research every day to keep that going. And I think that's to deal with that. You really have to kind of grow your listens. I think that's how I kind of cope. Some people would probably not listen at all, and they really sit down. But for me, I love to listen different artists and different parts of the world. I remember for Don't Blame the Wild One. It's so weird. Like, I hope it doesn't sound weird, but I was listening to a lot of iceberg sounds, like cracking of an iceberg. I love that sound, and I was listening to a lot of. Oh my gosh, people think I'm crazy. People think I'm crazy, but I'm crazy. I love listening to that. There's like a 24-hour version of that. on
24-hour
YouTube,
version.
and I'm like, wow, like this is such a cool
24
sound.
hours of iceberg sound.
No, I didn't listen 24 hours, but I
She
love
did.
cracking of an iceberg. Those sounds are so interesting. Or like, a lot of. I was also watching a lot of, I think, 30s or 40s commercial, like Marlboro commercials, and they have like this weird sound effect that they use, and that was really. I was so inspired by that for SOS. Like, there's this like cracking sound, and like, yeah, just exploring with different mediums, and I think that really keeps the authenticity going, because you will know what you like and you will know what you don't like. you know. So you think I'm crazy?
No, I think everyone knows you have to be somewhat crazy to be in the business that we're
Yeah.
in. I mean, that's just in general. But I mean, I'm not at the level of iceberg cracking yet.
I highly recommend.
But
It's like a whale sound. I think a lot of people listen to whale
I'm down
sounds,
for some
right?
whale sounds.
Yeah.
I'm at whale
sounds
sounds.
are good.
That's
I'm
where
okay
I'm at.
with the whale sound, but like iceberg,
Yes.
guys, get on that. Get on to that. Yeah.
Well, I can live on, the sound of ice cubes, right?
I like
A drunk is coming up.
ASMR.
Funny mo dun.
ASMR sound. I love ASMR. Like ASMR is one of the things
ASMR.
that really inspired me throughout the.
No, that's true. People love the ASMR
I do, and-
feels.
Yeah, it's super inspiring. Like different sounds that you don't really notice when you're actually drinking water, but when
Yeah.
you're like turning the water and there's mics on it, like the soundscape and how.
Sound bath.
Yeah, it's inspiring. I don't know. I like it.
No.
May I recommend?
Yeah.
Try to look for the sound of a shovel being shoved into concrete.
Ooh, I
That's a
would probably
beautiful
like
sound.
that.
She got excited.
When you like step on it, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
shh. Ooh,
I
I
would-
love that.
I would go for
I
the-
think sand sounds are
Definitely.
interesting. Yeah, I will explore that. That's
So the thing is, you are responding to sounds. Now, most people who are trained classically are
yeah,
focused on the music, on the instrument, on the interpretation.
yeah,
But they take for granted the sound, and sound can change everything because
Right.
it kind of sounds stupid what I'm saying.
no, it makes
No,
sense.
no.
It do.
I get what you mean.
Yeah,
It's more the fact that yes, instead of being too focused on how to do it or how it's going to sound,
Yeah.
like just the why. Like you can
Yeah.
throw in a wrong note, you can
Yeah.
throw in
Yeah.
a wrong sound, a technically wrong sound, and
Yeah.
it just becomes something more beautiful at the end.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't want to sound pretentious or anything, but it's like it's so interesting to explore, beyond the note because we have 7 notes in the keys that are
Beyond the
different.
note, I love that.
We have C to B for, standard, and
Yeah.
we have the sharps and the flats. But, beyond the note, C will sound different from violin and also viola, And I think that's one thing that I really focus on is like the timbre, the texture of the sound, because what makes the C different. It has different emotions on it. And yeah, like those are the fun stuff. So the sand can be like A. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I guess like for the other artists that are in classical that are playing outside the notes, just like you, what's the kind of message or maybe lesson you'd like to give them for them that are aspiring to maybe break out of their own mold?
Besides listening to icebergs.
Besides,
Yeah, besides, I recommend though. I do. To anybody, I think it's awesome. I think that, when you're starting out, it's so easy to be molded by somebody else's opinions. I think, people say, it should be, it should be singable, or, it's not catchy, let's make a catchy melody or something. And that's not what you're really going for. It's easy when you're starting out to have that kind of conflict between what people would want to hear from you. And I guess my advice is to just do what you like, because you will get tired of it once you figured out your sound and you can't do that anymore. I think everybody is extraordinary in a different way. And the way to kind of embrace that is to keep on kind of finding out what more you have in you. And I just give that advice to anybody, not even an artist, but, just regular people. If they have something that's good at it, just be better at that, And I think we can all be weird and icebergy in a way, Yeah.
Most of the innovators in music historically they pushed the envelope. They don't just follow. That's
Yeah.
the risks that you have to take. But they're following their own inner voice. And when people get too much into the industry side of things, in the sense of, I have a hit single, now I have to replicate that.
Yeah.
So then that becomes a self-defeating thing, I guess.
Yeah. Risk it to get the biscuit is my
think
motto.
outside the note.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen to iceberg sounds.
Listen to your
Yeah.
sound.
Yes, I love it.
Iceberg and sands.
And then try to identify the note the pitch of the iceberg.
Okay,
Yes.
enough.
For 24 hours.
For 24
yes.
hours.
For 24 hours. No,
Yeah.
but for real though, I think that's an amazing advice, you know what I mean? And I think you embody that. And that's why there's so many artists here in the Philippines that respect you and are excited for what you're going to do next. Again, I'd like to say thank you for being with us today to
Thank
share your
you.
experiences, share your life. And maybe before we leave, is there anything last you'd like to just say about, where you're going in your career right now? What's next for you? Or just a message to people in general?
I hope you like my songs.
Do you like her songs? Please, everyone. There we go.
I hope you have a good day and good ulam today.
I like that.
Yes.
That's a great way.
Good ulam, good life.
There we
I
go.
think that's my motto.
Iceberg sounds.
And ulam.
Ulam. Yes.
Yes, this has been Billboard Philippines Volumes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Billboard Philippines.